them, right? My door opens, closes, and latches, right? Set my weather seal all the way around it, make sure it's not missing and it's not dry rotted or damaged. And I should have a red DOT reflector right here on the inside of my door. My grab bar is properly mounted and secured, it's not bent, broken, or damaged. We got an indicator lights, amber in color, properly mounted, secured, not cracked or broken. It's got 3 functions, running, turning, and 4-way, right? Fuel tank, properly mounted, secured, not bent, broken, or damaged. It's not leaking. I do have the rubber up under the straps to prevent metal-to-metal contact. And if I take my cap off, make sure it's secured by a chain and it's got the rubber seal that's in good shape, right? Y'all all know what that looks like. My steps and catwalk, properly mounted and secured, not bent, broken, or damaged too much. And there's no excessive grease, dirt, or oil, anything that would be a slip hazard, right? My shoes cross over there, my exhaust properly mounted and secured, not bent, broken, or damaged. There's no excessive soot or rust. Excessive would be it's rusting through, right? Anything that would indicate that there's a leak. Right here between my frame, I've got my drive shaft. It's properly mounted and secured. It's not bent, broken, or damaged, and there's no kind of debris or trash wrapped around it or in the U-joints, right? My frame, let's hope it's properly mounted and secured because everything else is mounted and secured to it. It's not bent, broken, or damaged. And there's no excessive or no illegal drills or welds, like drill holes and welds. Move over here. So for my suspension on this axle, I've got my leaf springs properly mounted and secured. They're not bent, broken, damaged, or shifted side to side, right? My leaf spring hangers on both ends, check and make sure that they're properly mounted and secured, not broken or damaged. And in the middle of my leaf spring, it's mounted to my axle with my axle mounts, the 2 U-bolts, right? All hardware is present. It means it's got the nuts on the bottom of it, right? Sitting right back there, I've got, since I'm talking about suspension, I've got my hydraulic shock absorber, right? Properly mounted and secured, not bent, broken, or damaged, not leaking. And I've got 2 airbags right here because we're still talking about suspension. My airbag properly mounted and secured, no abrasions, bulges, or cuts, and I don't hear any audible leaks, right? That's my suspension on this axle, correct? All right. Talk about braking on this axle. I've got my brake chamber, it's properly mounted and secured, it's not bent, broken, or damaged. My push rod and slack adjuster are held together with a clevis pin and a cotter key, right? If I want to check the slack on my slack adjuster, I make sure my wheels are chalked, release my brakes, and I can't pull it more than 1 inch. If I can pull it more than 1 inch, it's out of adjustment, right? Since we're still talking about brakes, inside of my wheel, I've got my brake drum. Check it, make sure it's not bent, broken, or damaged, no excessive grease, dirt, or oil. Check my brake pads, make sure they're not cracked or broken, they're properly mounted and secured, and they are at least a 1/4 inch thick. Or I could also say they're not worn excessively thin or dangerously thin or whatever, right? Check the inside and outside of both my wheels. Make sure there's no illegal welds or drill holes. The inside and outside walls, both my tires, make sure there's no abrasions, bulges, or cuts. The face of both tires are wearing evenly. No steel belts showing, and they have to be at least 2 30-seconds of tread depth, right? Between my tires, my bud spacing, make sure that it's even. My tires aren't touching, which would be underinflated. They'd be rubbing together on the bottom. And make sure that there's no trash or debris stuck up between them, right? Talking about inflation on both my tires, they appear to be properly inflated. If I need to add air, I've got a metal valve stem here. Check it, make sure it's not bent, broken, or damaged, and it should have a metal cap, right? Still talking about my wheels. This is an axle seal as opposed to a hub seal. right? Make sure it's not bent, broken, or damaged, and it's not leaking. It is bolted, so I'm going to check my bolts and my lug nuts. Make sure they're all there. They appear to be properly tight, and there's no shiny threads or rust trails under all the mud. Anything that would indicate that they're coming loose, right? That takes care of my tire, wheel, and brakes, right? So, if I come back here, I've already talked about my airbag and my shock absorber, right? My mud flaps, properly mounted and secured. The flaps themselves aren't ripped or torn, and they do have the red, white DOT tape, right? They are the proper distance from the ground, which is 8 inches or less. Correct?
Correct.
So, back here I've got 3 lights. They're all properly mounted and secured, not broken or damaged. This white one is a reverse lights, one function, reverse. My 2 red ones, tail lights, are 4 functions, braking, 4 ways, turn signal, and running, right? This bar that's up under my 5th wheel is a torque arm, torque bar, whichever you want to call it. Properly mounted, secured, not bent, broken, or damaged. Let's talk about my 5th wheel. Since I have to include coupling with this, right? Looking at my apron, make sure it's properly mounted, secured. It's not bent, broken, or damaged. No excessive rust, like it's in good shape, right? There's no gap between my apron and my 5th wheel skid plate, right? You don't want to see any daylight or air between them. And your 5th wheel appears to be properly greased. My 5th wheel is welded to my platform, and this platform is properly bolted to the frame of my truck. I've got the same number of bolts on both sides, so I'm not missing any, and they appear to be tight, right? Yeah. Back here, I can see that my jaws are closed around my kingpin, around the shank of my kingpin, and my kingpin is not bent, broken, or damaged. This is the only place that I can see it when the trailer's hooked up, right? That should be everything except for my airlines when I skipped right by. Do what?
Cigarette.
I didn't read. Oh, thank you. So, I skipped right by these. My airlines and my electrical line. The blue one is service, right, on the inside. The red one is the emergency line. Make sure that neither one of them have any abrasions, bulges, or cuts. My electrical line is in good shape. There's no exposed wires on it. And your glad hands, when they're hooked up, if you were to take them off, check the rubber seal on the inside, make sure it's in good shape, it's not missing. And all of these have to be held up off the catwalk. You cannot be dragging it. That right there should be B. Y'all tell me if I missed anything.